Welcome to Latinos Who Tech. My name is Hugo Castellanos. I'm an engineer and I work in Silicon Valley. I am originally from Caracas, Venezuela, and I've been calling the US home for the last 20 years. When it comes to Latinos in the US, we are 60 million people, but we're only 3% of the workers in science or engineering. As a professional in Silicon Valley, I've had the opportunity to meet some remarkable professionals that work in the tech industry, Latinos like me. With this podcast, I want to bring you a collection of their stories and how they got a job in tech in the first place. And if they had to start all over again, what would they do differently? I want to share with you career advice on how to get a job in tech, how to deal with imposter syndrome, how to find your tribe when you're the only one in the room. This is Latinos Who Tech. This episode of Latinos Who Tech is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the world's premium platform for audiobooks with over 150,000 titles. If you're like me, you're passionate about learning new things, but finding the time to read may be difficult. Audiobooks are a great alternative. You can get a free 30-day trial plus a free audiobook by going to audibletrial.com/Latinos. Go and support them since they support us. Thank you. Javier, welcome to Latinos Who Tech.
Thank you for having me.
And you're no stranger to the podcast.
Definitely not.
But it's funny. I wanted to try this experiment of actually, let me try to do one in English with somebody who's my best friend I speak to in Spanish every day. But it's for the benefit of the audience, right? Because I want to make sure that you have a lot of great experience working here in the US. And I want them to get to know you a little bit more and learn a little bit of what you have taught me, working in customer success and startup life and being acquired and, West Coast, East Coast, mentoring. So again, this is for them.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you for having me once again. Definitely we haven't done this in English. It's always a Spanish conversation with some Spanglish there. Again, we tend to forget some words nowadays, at least me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely nice that we can do this again. And I'm obviously very, very humble and honored that you actually want me to keep helping you share stories to this audience.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I think look at this as getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's for
bit.
sure.
So that's always nice to do that every now and then. So how do you get into tech? How do you get into this whole technology world?
Basically, I was I was always very into computers since I was a kid. My dad was an engineer, and we actually my brother and I got a computer when we were kids. So ever since then, I became like total geek about him. So I had like a very old 386. I think that's what I had, and you could play Prince of Persia on it.
Nice.
And have fun with that. Other than your regular Nintendo. At that point, I really loved computers from that point on. And in school, it was like, I have a computer, and then I started learning this like Pascal and COBOL, and I was just in, I think it was probably 6th grade when I started like getting into it. And I was like, what is this programming like? I have no idea. And it's like, you get so many of these principles. I was like, it's interesting. But it's hard. Like I couldn't get it. So you have to get I had to get through the professor like every end of my class, like get into that. Like okay, then I finished school and I noticed actually I like engineering because I like the challenges but I wasn't sure computer was the thing. So I went through electrical electronics engineering, because I didn't think computer science was for me.
Got it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I got into tech. And then, one thing led to another as far as going to college or university. And the opportunity came, I was already set to go onto university in Venezuela. But during our vacation, basically, our parents took us to around like some colleges. We were actually here in the U.S. and visiting Orlando and going to
Nice.
Disney World and the Universal parks. And just throughout it, they were like, we should just check out some of the schools over here and see if you guys like it. And we were like, what for? It's not like we're gonna stay here. It's like we're like,
wouldn't you know?
And it was pretty funny. So it's like a week before we heading back, our parents were like, "So how do you guys feel about studying in the U.S.?" We're like, "What? Are you for real?" My brother's looking at me weird, and it's like, "Yeah, you're not serious." And I was like, "I doubt it." He's like, "Are you sure you're asking for that? Like, seriously?" But it was interesting. We were not expecting it at all. So that was pretty nice surprise, and as well as like very humble too, because we were like, "Is this possible? Like, really?" And so it was nice for me. I thought it was like exciting, not just surprising. And I like the fact that I could speak English. So like, yeah, I can continue doing this. Yes. And that's how I basically got it. Once I finished school as an electrical engineer, but I always liked computers. So while I was doing school, like I went Miami-Dade, finished my A, I went to FIU, finished my bachelor's. But I wanted to continue really close to computers. And my dad had a good suggestion to do like IT certifications and learn a little more about, how computers work and how the networks. And one thing led to another, and I was able to like get through some trainings and certs for that, in addition to my university education. I was like, okay, cool. And, and basically I finished school. And that helped, to me, land my first job apparently. So
nice.
So it was very, very nice that I could do that. And my first job was actually in my university in FIU, and I got there as a part of a specific project for migrating systems to neural network from Microsoft, and then shortly after the project, they were like, "Chama, would you like to stay?" I was like, "Sure." Like, what's the gig? What are you talking about? What are we talking about here? I was just excited that they're giving me the option to work with the team. They're like, "Well, we want someone for part-time that's interested in working with customers, or in this case, university staff and professors, and helping them with all of the field team needs." And I was like, "Sure, sign me up." I was like, "We'll be paying you part-time. You just need to keep your school in check." And I'm like, "Oh, sure, that's possible, not a problem." And yeah, and then that was my first gig, at least in tech.
Great. And how do you spend your time now? What are you into now?
Well, nowadays, what happened is, basically, I am now doing what is called customer adoption management or customer success management. Basically, that's what my role is nowadays, which is a big change from what I did when I moved into the Valley. So,
so when you say customer success, what does that look like? I mean, because the way I look at least in the tech space, I see that, great, we build apps, we build hardware, we sell it, and thank you for your money, and that's it. So you mean like we have to keep working with the customer when we sell it to them?
Definitely.
Okay. What does that look like then? What does a happy customer look like? How do you know that your customer is happy? And I guess those are two different questions, but this customer success thing is very new to me. So.
Well, there is, in most business transactions or relationships, there's usually three phases, two phases basically. There's a pre-sales portion, and then there's basically the transaction, basically, and then the post-sales operation. Then nowadays, most businesses are very focused on making sure that their customers are engaged and are actually really focused on providing feedback onto what their experience is. So what happens after someone has bought out a product from another company, and those people, the customer side, they want to know how to best use it. I mean, one thing is you come in over, start pre-sale engineer or account manager and show you what their product can do. Another one is what after they bought into the product and they pay for it, is the next part is the post-sale part, which is you want to onboard those customers. You want to make sure that they follow the best practices. They can have a good understanding of how to use the features on their product and take full advantage of what they can do based on what they bought. So that's basically where a customer success, or in my case, an adoption manager, comes into play. One, because you're the person that is going to give them the best experience possible. And two, you're also going to be the person who's going to get all the feedback, good or bad, but feedback regardless, because it's going to help you, understand what their needs are, what are the goals of them using the product, and you as their manager, and make sure they're successful throughout that project, throughout those goals. That could be short term, could be long term, but you'll be there. You'll be the liaison for that.
Got it. And I think that it's a great opportunity too, because if you're closer to the customer after they bought your service, your hardware, your software, whatever you're trying to sell, you can see firsthand what they like about it, how they actually use it, and you could even take that feedback back to your product teams and actually help them build a better iteration next time. Again, in a perfect world, right? So in a perfect world where everybody talks to each other and
yes, definitely. The other thing that is important as a success manager is for you to be understanding of what that customer, or in this case, it could be a director, could be a engineering manager, or it could be simply a developer lead on a team, whether it's a QA development team or whether it's, an actual design team and want to be able to know how to best use it. And that feedback from regardless of what area they're in their unit or organization, it's very valuable for you to be able to then communicate back to your product team. Or even if it is not your product team, your management and the support teams that you typically work with, to understand, some of the things that have been they're having problems with understanding or using.
Got it. So what does what do the challenges look like then? What are some common challenges that you experience with your customers, with getting your job done every day, every week?
Well, the main thing for you as a success manager or adoption manager is to make sure that the feedback is ongoing. Okay, so you want to make sure that you establish a relationship with the customer, be clear or get a clear of knowledge of what they want to accomplish, and how you are part of that, of them delivering that goal to their own teams or to their own organizations. And that's the most important part. The second is for you to then understand what your organization, in this case, the place I work, how can I leverage the people I work with to provide a feasible solution for them within a time frame that they also need. So those are some things that are key to know and to understand, and then know how to execute them. And so that's also part of what is important.
So, because you're not working with one customer, right? I'm sure you have a portfolio of 5, 10, 20 customers and they're all your favorite customer, every single one of them, right?
Thankfully, yes.
So I'm wondering, once you solve an issue with a customer, how do you scale it? Because I'm sure that if something is broken for customer A, maybe customer B, customer C might experience that same thing. So how do you make sure that everybody knows that, hey, by the way, this feature here breaks sometimes when you do this? So what systems, like, how do you scale solutions essentially?
Well, the one other thing that is important to know is that because you're engaged with a customer or many, each of them have their own pace as far as needing something from your product or wanting something from your product. So each of them have their own synergy, right? So the aspect of understanding what each of them want or need is very important, because you want to be fulfilling, or what you want to call it. You're giving your word that you can actually accomplish this. So it's a matter of communicating that to your product team or the team that you work with, and find out what is the best way to fulfill those expectations. I think that's very important. Again, every customer has a different deadline or a different goal, and you still need to find a way to enable the customer to proceed with their project without being blocked, by features on your product that are not ready. So those are things that are key. Now, for me, now in this role, right now I'm part of a team of 5, 6 people that do customer adoption. And now that in mind you, remember I came from the support team member. I think I was the only support team member in the US for like a year. And I'm super happy that, this team, hired me and wanted me to be part of this startup, because I was basically just growing. And so Blazemeter was in the middle of, providing options for testing web applications and mobile applications. And they were just touching the tip of the iceberg. So when it came to the point of growing, there were acquisitions year after year, which thankfully I was part of, continuing that experience.
Right.
And there was a lot of learning, and the fact that I was given the chance to continue with the team, that enabled me to grow. And when it comes to passing on to what other opportunities are there for me to help customers beyond the technical aspect, I thought, well, what else is out there for me to do? And I think it was after the last acquisition when I thought, there may be another way to help the customers, like to bring value to what they want to do, they want to accomplish on their own organizations. Technically speaking, I was well versed on how our platform works.
Right.
And then it wasn't until Broadcom's acquisition came through that opportunity opened, right? And I was very honest, like I came back from a vacation and I was like very interested on what else was there for me to do, because I also wanted to find a way to grow, because I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't feel like I didn't want to a point where I would feel stuck on a technical path and not sure where else would that take me. So it was when I asked what other opportunities were there for me to help the team, it was like, well, there's these 3 options. because there was a lot of changes, organizational changes during the last acquisition. So the opportunity to work as a success manager came through, and I was like, I mean, I know what they do, but can I do it? And we're like, well, you can give it a shot. I'm like, okay, sweet. I'll give it a shot. So it was like 2-3 months of learning what those are. I'm on keeping my, my position as part of the support team, and then given the chance to hold whoever was the last person standing from the success team. And so I thought it was like a big chance to grow into a new role and what became basically a new path for me to grow within the company. And what shortly after happened, thankfully, the people on my team were super helpful and very encouraging for me to just work with them, shadow them into meeting customers, understanding, and know how to ask the customers, what their goals are and how we can be part of that. And to the point where you became a project manager within the actual position. And you have to have these understandings of, who the stakeholders are, what are those, specifically those projects do, understanding what are the values that you bring in for, when delivering on their goals, and then how you can compound that value and then enable them to renew deals with those customers. And those are the things that, I never expect to learn. So when it came to understanding what each customer could do, and then, as I mentioned, it became tricky, but then you learn yourself on how to best manage what each customer wants, to stay within the agenda that meets their needs, and as well as make sure that it's within the expectations that you set for your team to deliver them. Because not every situation is going to be as the customer wants, but at least you're there to communicate. Okay, this is what it's been working on. This is what we enable you to do until those things are fulfilled and delivered. And those are things that were super valuable to me to understand, because I want to be able to help the people I work with. I mean, I already knew, like, from the technical aspect, like how I'm going to do it, and this is one problem, and this is solved. I can escalate it. All right, it's fixed. The bug is fixed. Then go ahead and just deliver, and I'll let the customer know, and I move on to the next. This is not the case. This was definitely much more in-depth relationship, and where you really want to make sure that you're accountable for what you're not only sharing but also delivering. And that's also very, very valuable, I believe, from not only within your team for you to do, but also more importantly, for what the customer is getting out of their experience using our product.
Got it. And after all this journey of going through not one but 2 acquisitions, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that this happens to, but I mean, because we're working at Blazemeter, it gets acquired by CA Technologies.
Right.
Then CA Technologies gets acquired by Broadcom, competitor, but they're great. They're great. They make great products. Go buy them, all of them. And again, I'm sure a lot of people go through this, right? But going through this journey and having this radical adaptability, I guess, because I think as immigrants, I think that's one of our strengths, that we tend to just ignore a little bit, because it's so like, yeah, I live here now, I adapt, I gotta pay the bills, I gotta learn stuff, I gotta network, I gotta learn the language, learn the body language skills, everything, and just move on. But we often just forget about it. And I think it's one of our biggest strengths, just being adaptable. And my question for you is, throughout this journey, what's the proudest thing you're what's the thing that you're the proudest of, after this journey? Because it's not every day, right, that your startup gets acquired twice and you switch teams and everything happens. So
I'll say for me, the most proud of would probably be being flexible or being open to the opportunities, right? It's a matter of also acknowledge that there's stuff you can do, and that you may have done it before in some other way. It's probably something that you've discussed as a part of imposter syndrome, I believe. Mm-hmm. And if you're very aware of what you can do, or open to opportunity of doing new things, it's become like really helpful. So for me, I guess that's what probably makes me feel proud of what I can achieve, because I am open always to help. In this case, help the team that I'm part of in any other way or form that I need to. And there was a time, I think, after the last acquisition, they're like, we were like scrapping because we have a lot of people were either left because they didn't like the change, or they simply were terminated as part of their transition. And it was unfortunate, but guess what? Everyone else wanted to make sure that we continue helping our customers. We will be able to continue to give value and be there for each other in the team. I think that's something that's pretty awesome that I was able to experience with this team at Broadcom, with the Blazemeter unit specifically. And the next thing is, there are opportunities open for you to simply explore what else is there. And I think that's also why, that's part of it, because I guess it makes me proud of what I can do. Like, I'm always trying to be available to do what else is needed for me to make sure, like, whoever I work with can get the value they need. And that's something that I always had, even since I was a part-time field team engineer at FIU. I guess I always had the right mentality of, like, whoever I work with, I'm making sure that I can give them the help that they needed. And that mentality has continued across through, I think, all of my career here in the Valley as well, and until ultimately here with Broadcom. And the fact that I can be there for customers in a more closer relationship, it's very important now, because it's also part of who I am. Like, I like to be very personal. I like to be able to understand things that they're going through as a team, and then what they want to accomplish. And then obviously, I want to be able to give them the help and the experience they need in order to achieve those things. So I'm very happy that I can do those things, especially because the team that I'm part of is also very encouraging, and to making sure that if you don't know something, you can ask for it, and who you can reach out to. And given the time that I've been with the company, then I typically know exactly, like, okay, I can now talk to someone in product, or I know who's working on this feature, and like immediately reach out to, like, the engineering manager or the dev team that is actually developing it and working on delivering it. Mm-hmm. And then be more open to communicate some of those things with whoever customer is needing it or wants it to be part of what the solution they need to use.
Got it. So to wrap up, I'm wondering, what do you think are some of the skills, the competencies that somebody that wants to have a career in customer success, customer adoption, needs to build? Adaptability is one.
Definitely.
Sure. We've made that point, but I'm wondering, what else do you think that successful customer success manager needs to have on their toolbox?
Adaptability, definitely one. Two is be flexible, because all customers have a different way to interact. So you need to understand those things from from them. And it's not just one person you're going to be talking to. You're going to be talking to probably a team of people. They all have or want different things out of you and be able to provide for them. So that's another thing. And 3, be open to help. You're there to be part of the solution that they're trying to accomplish. So that's also another one. And in 3, that's something learned even from when I started with this team was measure what you can. So everything from the interactions, the support issues that they have, escalations. Measure every little interaction that you can, and it becomes very valuable because also adds into the experience that they're having when you use the product. So those are the 4 things are key. And I've learned a lot on the way. I've only been doing this for half a year. And now I get a chance to work with different customers, even from Latin America, which I was, very pleased. Well, very unexpected. It's amazing that I can do that. Mm-hmm. And not everyone gets a chance to really work in both languages.
Right.
And I think that those are the things that are key, that help you be a successful part of a team and a success team.
Gotcha. Javier, thank you so much for your time. Anything else you wanted to add? Anything else I forgot to ask you wanted to mention?
I believe that if I would probably give suggestion to someone who's interested in jumping from a technical point to more of a business role, it would be to be open, be open to explore, because I didn't think I would probably switch unless I give that a shot,
Gotcha.
And because you never know how valuable can you be to your team until you maybe check the other opportunities that are there. And if they are not even available, if you have maybe an interest or you're curious, what are these other teams doing? How are you being able to be successful? Or how is it that the customers are giving us this feedback? What did we do? Those are things that pique your interest. I think you should go for it. You shouldn't really stop yourself from it. I thought that would be, I would do an okay job because I was not experienced or knowledgeable about it. But it turns out that all I needed was some guidance and training from someone in a different team, and the rest basically is, the actions led me to this opportunity now. So I think that that's something that would really encourage people to just be curious and express, communicate some interest you may have, and you don't know where it will land you. What other type of path opportunities can open for you in your career.
Definitely. Javier, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me again.